two, one. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We're going to have a tale of two different topics if I can get my TikTok side of the out going. We're going to be talking about Trump has now taken his plea for immunity to the SCOTUS, the nation's highest court. So Trump has asked the Supreme Court to grant him immunity for the time he was president, meaning that while he was president, from the time he was inaugurated in January 2017 till the time President Biden was inaugurated, January 2021, anything between that time period, January 2017 and January 2021, Trump is suggesting that because he was the nation's commander-in-chief, he therefore should have immunity. Now understand that would put January 6th in that time block, because January 6th is almost 2 weeks. I think the 21st, January 21st is when when Biden was sworn in. So it would put January 6th in that time period, meaning that if Trump is granted immunity, he would be free from any criminal charges throughout his presidency. So we're going to be asking right off the bat, do you believe, and not just referencing Trump, this is not strictly to bash Trump, but it's coming up because Trump is the one requesting immunity. But we're going to be asking right off the bat, do you believe the president should be granted blanket immunity while they're in office from criminal charges? Because this would also have meant President Nixon, for what he ordered, would have been free from any charges as well. As long as you are still considered president, you cannot be held criminally liable for anything you do while in office. How many of you folks favor that? And as a side note, we're going to be talking about the border bill. Fact is, it has now passed the Senate. Many feel confident it's not going to go anywhere in the House, but 29 Republican senators actually voted in favor of the bill, helping it successfully pass the Senate. So the bill is out of the Senate's hands. It is successfully implemented by the Senate, but we're going to see what happens. So in regards to the bill, why won't Republicans pass a bill that they primarily are the authors of? So those are the two questions I'm going to be asking to talk about Trump and full immunity and the border bill. As always, the program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are always my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So as the program is moving along, understand if someone does not agree with the host, anyone in the comment section, nobody gives a damn, because the program operates on free speech. We don't ban, block, censor, or limit anyone's time because they have a difference of opinion. Looking in the comments right off, immunity from Trump, says XYZ with a smiley laughing emoji. Are you suggesting that Trump deserves immunity, or are you suggesting that giving him immunity would be a joke? Like to have you elaborate on that. Your info is flawed, says labor first. Feel free to elaborate on where the flaw is. I'm willing to concede the point if you elaborate that. So let me know what info is flawed on Trump suggesting that he should have immunity. Now, the way the immunity claim works is that I'm operating on behalf of the United States. Therefore, anything I do is on behalf of the United States. I'm trying to do what's best for the country, and that should make me immune from criminal charges. A good example would be George W. Bush and the Iraq War. Hell of a lot of Americans lost their lives. A lot of American service personnel lost their lives in a war under the guise that we were trying to overturn the fact that, or the belief that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. That did not pan out to be a fact. So some would say, well, Bush should be held accountable for sending us to war over a lie. He was operating on behalf of the United States, and the belief is he was doing what he thought was best for the country at that time. So he should be granted immunity. Same thing with Obama using a drone to kill an American citizen that was in the Middle East operating on behalf of ISIS, if I'm correct. Might have been Al Qaeda, but I believe it was ISIS. So should Trump be granted immunity for the charges he's facing on the premise that he also was operating on behalf of the United States? That's the question we're dealing with. Looking in the comments, what's this about Miss Obama being president? I haven't heard anything about Miss Obama being president, but I will tell you this. If Michelle Obama decides to run, it'll interrupt all of the news networks. It'll preempt ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, certainly the cable news outlets like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. If that happens, you'll be the first to know, because whatever news services you read on your phone will give you a push notification. There will be nowhere you can go without hearing about that. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, there will be nowhere you can go. I have not heard any inclination that she's thinking about even doing that. Going to the box, straight out. Trump being granted immunity. What say you folks? Pat Carlson, good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Pat. Do you think Trump was acting on behalf of the United States throughout his presidency and should be immune from prosecution? I'm doing good.
Today, I've been trying to get on your program for some time now. There's a couple. All right, I'll answer your question right off the bat first,
sure,
before I go into a couple of other things that I'd like to discuss. And the answer, in my opinion, is no. If you allow a president blanket immunity, then while he's in office, he could go and assassinate, for example, Trump. He's already said that if he gets back into office, he's going to go after those who went against him. So and he's also stated that he could go down to Times Square and assassinate somebody and get away with it.
So let me interrupt. Let me interrupt you.
That power that he could.
Okay, let me interrupt and ask you this: do you think Trump is capable of some of the things you just mentioned?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
I most certainly do. I think that he has the money and the clout that he could go, and let's face it, if you're the president of the United States, technically you are the commander-in-chief of the entire military, are you not?
True.
Therefore, he could say, strike. Now, in answer to your question, all right, on the one where the president, I don't remember which, was it Bush that?
I mentioned George W. Bush. I mentioned George W. Bush in Iraq.
Let's go off of the mass destruction. All right, let's go off that. If it was proven that he absolutely knew that there was no weapons of mass destruction, and he launched that attack anyhow, then yes, he should be held criminally liable for that, because he sent our troops in there. But all right, I've been trying to get on board with you for a few days because of a couple of things. One, when you were talking about the records that Trump, Biden and Pence had. Okay, here you made a comment that I think I would disagree with. You told one of your listeners that Biden had documents longer than that person was alive. There's a difference there. When Biden was, I don't remember whether he was a senator or a congressman, the records that they keep are at a totally different classification than presidential records. They do not fall in that presidential record.
Okay, but wait a minute. Hold on.
As a congressman or senator, those records
Here's the point. When I said that Biden had classified materials longer than that person had been alive, if you're say, in reference to what you're talking about, I didn't say what level they were. I'm just simply saying he had documents in his possession that he was not supposed to have for decades.
Yeah, but the documents that a congressman and a senator have, they're not classified. They're not bound to the same standards as a presidential records. Check your facts on that, and you'll see that I'm right. They are allowed. But let's go beyond that. All right, so Trump.
Hold on, hang on. Before you, hold on. There's a slight delay. Hold on, there's a slight delay. But before you go on, as a congressman or as a senator, is it possible, even though it's at a lower level, as you pointed out, is it possible to have classified documents in your possession that you should not have? Did Biden do that? Regardless of what level they're at, did he commit that violation?
Well, now the question is, if he had those type of classified documents, where did he get those classified documents? Because as a congressman and a senator, they should not have those type of classified documents, period.
Okay, how would you...
Now, so, all right, here's another thing. All right, so those documents that Trump had, okay, here's why Biden and Pence didn't get charged, because when they were asked for those documents, they said, here's these documents, search my house. Trump, he hid those documents. He even has surveillance of where he was had people hide documents. Now, Trump, if he claims that those documents were rightfully his, correct?
Yeah.
In that case, he should have, when he was asked and all, he should have turned those documents over. And let's face it, Trump is no idiot when it comes to courts. So if he felt that those documents belonged to him, after he turned those documents over, he could have sued to get those documents back.
Well, let me just say this.
He was charged.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna have to move it on, but what I want to say is this: it's either a crime to have the documents in your possession, or it is not. Turning the documents over voluntarily after having them in your possession past the point where it is legal, just because you turn over stolen money from a bank doesn't make you avoid being charged with the crime. If Biden had the documents in his possession and he was not supposed to have them in his possession, turning them over voluntarily shouldn't excuse him from some form of accountability.
I would agree with you. But you see, that's got kind of a spin to it. One spin is I bet I would almost be willing to make a bet that you could go back to every president and you would find that they have some sort of documents that they wasn't supposed to in their possession. So you'd have to charge each and every one of them.
But you sound like
refuse to give them up.
But Pat, you sound like MAGA. With all due respect, that's exactly what Trump is saying. That if you're going to charge me with this, you got to go back to every other president because you're letting them get away with all this stuff too. Last word on you.
And I agree with what you say there, but I wanted to add one more thing. Is when it came to trying to get him off the ballots. Okay, let's say you or I was nominated to go for the Secretary of Defense, right? And then just before you went through whatever process to become Secretary of Defense, you or I was charged with criminal charges. There's no way we would become Secretary of Defense. Same thing with Trump. While he is facing charges, he should not be allowed to be on the ballot, period. Because of the fact that he didn't go through one grand jury, two grand juries, three grand juries, even four grand juries. He went through 5 different grand juries and was indicted 4 separate times and was brought up on 91 charges.
Wow. Until
he is either found guilty or innocent of those charges, he should not be able to run for president, period.
All right, Pat, I will respond to that on the other side, but it's a pleasure having you on. We got somewhat of a delay, so I'm moving on, but I do appreciate you coming in, and I will respond to your statement immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, we had a delay, so I gave him a little time to respond. In regards to his statement that because Trump has been charged with a host of crimes, 91 charges, 4 different jurisdictions, I get it. The belief is he should not be able to be president. A lot of folks agree with my last caller. However, Trump has not been officially convicted of any of this stuff, and there is currently no law in the books that says if you're charged with a crime and you're in the process of the judicial process, you can't run for president. So what you don't want is changing of the laws because Trump is now running for president. This is what plays into what Trump is stating, and my beloved MAGA is suggesting, well, you're treating Trump differently, or there's somehow a two-tier justice system. There should have been a law in the books already that says a man facing 91 charges cannot run. That says a man who is dealing with charges can't pardon himself. That says the president can never be president while incarcerated. But there's no law in the books that says any of that. So until there is, you got to assume anybody in Trump's position is going to carry on. Now, there's no denying those laws should be on the books. And I've said it numerous times on the program. After Trump is no longer seeking the nation's highest office, whether he wins and serves a term, whether he loses, whether he passes on, whatever the case may be, once Trump is outside of the running for president, I don't believe you'll have anyone on either side of the aisle voting against that. Meaning that if you are a president and you're convicted of a crime, you can't pardon yourself. I think you'll get total bipartisan support. Meaning that if you are a president and you're up on a host of felonies, you cannot run for president. I think you'll get bipartisan support for that. And I'm 100% certain that you'll get bipartisan support that favors not letting someone run the office while they're in jail. But the founding fathers never envisioned the moments we're going through right now. So Trump is able to go right through a loophole that's been left there. Looking in the comments, it's not about the criminal charges. It's about his insurrection on January 6th. That's the point I just made. Until Trump is actually convicted of insurrection, it's just an allegation. There's no actual court that has ruled that Trump committed an act of insurrection. Now, it made it through Congress for his impeachment under Nancy Pelosi, but Mitch McConnell in the Senate wrapped it up and never even listened to it. So until there's a full conviction with some form of discipline, it's as if it didn't happen. It's as if the liberals saw what happened and just picked Trump to be a whipping boy. So without a conviction, he gets to run again. That's how the current law is. I get there are laws people disagree with. How many of us disagree with abusers of children getting slaps on the wrist or some of these mob robberies where you find out the guy is out the next night? Folks, that is the law. There are a lot of laws we don't like. So until the law is changed, you cannot blame Trump for going right through the loopholes that exist. I'm no fan of any politician being found guilty of breaking the law, which Trump has not been found guilty yet, and being able to pardon themselves, which Trump could actually do if he wins again. I'm no fan of that. Most of you folks probably are not either. But my beloved MAGA believes that the charges against Trump are a witch hunt and trumped up to begin with, so they don't care about it. But going back to the bots, tap the screen, get your boy up to 20,000. I do appreciate you folks that are tuned in. You could be anywhere. Always a pleasure having you here with me. 700 plus of you in here. Get your boy up to 20,000 likes. Going right back to the box, talking about a pardon, and we're talking about should Trump, not a pardon, but immunity. Should Trump be granted by the SCOTUS? That's where this is going. Should Trump be granted a blanket pardon? Because that is what he is indeed asking for. DJ I cannot pronounce the rest of that German. I can't pronounce it. But DJ, good afternoon. Welcome to the program, DJ.
What's up? What's up, handsome?
Not much at all. Good to have you back on. So, Trump is seeking immunity, blanket immunity, while he was president from the nation's highest court. What say you?
No president should have full immunity at all. No president. None. It should go by case, but no president should have granted immunity right off the bat.
So let me ask you this, because this is on YouTube. Because in regards to us discussing whether Trump should be granted immunity, and I hear your take. Sweetest Joy on YouTube says he didn't do shit. They did. Please stop the madness. In other words, it's the protesters that are guilty of whatever the hell happened on January 6th and not Trump. So you already stated you don't believe the president should have immunity, but I'm going to ask you a question in regards to what Sweetest Joy said. Do you think Trump committed any crimes while he was president?
Well, he did show up on the 6th to the Capitol. He asked these people to show up.
That's not a crime.
No, that's not a crime. But he allowed people to come into his area with guns and weapons.
Do you think Trump? Wait. You're saying on January 6th, Trump allowed people to come in the area with guns. You're saying that Trump knew folks there were armed?
Yeah, they were. You know where the people were standing in front of him on the stage? They allowed them to come in. He told the people there, told them that let them in. They had weapons. Let them in. Go ahead, let them bring their guns in. Let them in.
Where's the evidence of that?
He knew.
I've never heard of that. Where are you getting that from?
Yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, if you can watch on YouTube where they
wait. You're saying there is solid evidence that Trump knew that crowd was armed.
Yeah. And they came into the rally part. Not when they went down to the Capitol, but when he did his speech in the front, he allowed them to come in with guns.
I have not seen any evidence of that, DJ.
And weapons, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah.
So let me go back around full circle to my original question. Do you believe Trump, while he was, somebody really wants you, man. If you got to go, I get it. But I want to ask you, so do you believe Trump committed any crimes while he was president?
Yeah, a lot of presidents do, but Trump did commit a lot of crimes.
Give me an example of a crime Trump committed. Tell me what crime that Trump committed while president.
Well, you guys were talking about he obstructed justice. When the federal government wanted its documents, Trump would not hand over. That's the crime.
Yeah.
He obstructed them from getting the documents. Unlike Pence and Biden, they handed over. Trump obstructed justice to the point that the FBI had to raid his house to get their documents back.
But how do you
have to raid a house to get your property back? That's obstructing justice.
But he wasn't. Hang on. But DJ, he wasn't president during the raid on Mar-a-Lago. That's why he was at Mar-a-Lago. He was no longer president. We're talking about while he was president.
While he's president?
Yeah.
I can't think of the top of my head what crimes he committed. Well, let's see here. I don't have none on the top of my head, but
okay.
That's still obstructing justice, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm with you the way you stated it. The obstruction of justice charge that is outside of the presidency. But on January 6th, he was president. Do you believe he committed any crimes that day?
I do, but you have to have the evidence is going to be deep because you got to go through all these other people, all these links of, you know, who leaded the people in there and all this. That's a deep investigation. We might not never know.
Okay.
Who orchestrated it and all that.
So if they don't have all the evidence, why the hell are they charging the man? Is it truly a witch hunt as he would suggest?
No, they're charging him for doing what he did in Georgia.
No, he's being Trump is being charged all over the damn place. And
well, yeah, because he's a criminal. Come on. Dude, he's a criminal. He's been a criminal since the 80s. Everyone knows this.
So if Trump is such a criminal, why the hell are there so many folks that favor him to be our next commander-in-chief? They had 9 choices from Vivek.
Because people are fine with white-collar crimes. They're fine with rich people breaking the law. They ain't fine with regular people like me and you breaking the law. They're fine with rich people breaking the law. You see it all the time, where they where they think people. I don't get it. Where regular working people think that rich people should get away with everything. It's not just Trump. It's all rich people.
Well, wait, hold on. Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, they're quite wealthy. There's a hell of a lot of folks demanding that they be locked up.
Well, hell, they dragged Hillary for years to the mud, and they couldn't find nothing to stick it on. They could not find nothing to stick it on.
You know that sounds kind of bad,
And
but
Hunter
okay.
Biden, they found the only thing they could find on Hunter Biden was a gun, and that's it. And it's not people's fault that they can't find evidence on them. If you don't have evidence on someone, you can't charge them.
Okay,
You can't charge Trump with a crime if you don't have evidence on him.
all right. So while you're
Like that.
so with you admitting there's not a lot of evidence to charge Trump with a crime, let me ask you this simple question: what would be so bad in your opinion if Trump was president again? Would you not get back a good economy, reduce some of these global mishaps between Israel and Hamas, or Ukraine and Russia, or possibly Taiwan and China? Would it be?
He wants to get rid of NATO. NATO is the reason why we never had another world war. NATO is the reason. That right there alone should wake you up.
Wow.
If you want to dismantle NATO, you know what NATO does? It brings a big group of countries together as one fighting army. If you destroy that, there's no way of stopping the World War coming around.
So how? Okay.
He's setting the stage for a world war if he breaks up NATO. That right there should alarm you.
Wow. So let me ask you this. I do got to move it on, but I want to ask you this last question here, because you're referencing NATO. How do you respond to many folks who suggest once Reagan disbanded the Soviet Union, NATO became outdated? Or as Trump states, NATO members are not even meeting their financial obligations for their own self-defense. So how is it that NATO is benefiting America? How do you respond to folks that have that mindset?
All you do is say, when China wants to go to war, they're going to look over at NATO and say, that's a lot of countries and that's a lot of military over there. We don't want to do that. Once you start separating these countries, it makes it easier for like China, Russia, or anyone to go ahead and start doing wars.
All right.
You know that. If we're a group of people, you can't, and you want to fight. You're not going to fight a group of people. You want to separate them, fight them one by one. It's easier to fight someone one by one than as a group.
You wouldn't be the first to say that. DJ, you sound like somebody really want to get in contact with you. I do got to move it on. Appreciate you coming through.
All right, bye.
Absolute. And looking in the comments, you're giving my opinion, says Jamie Rodriguez. Okay, I'd be curious to know which opinion, yours truly or the caller. By the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 on the likes. Appreciate you folks that are tuned in on YouTube. Feel free, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host blocking or banning you, smash the like button. Feel free to drop a subscription if you will. Going back to the comments, I don't know what's going on with the thing moving up and down. How's your bank account looking under Biden? Says Tucky. I can't pronounce the rest of that. My shirt is making it kind of complicated to read some of the names, but a lot of folks would suggest their bank accounts, their 401ks, their pensions, their IRAs, their Roth accounts, their stocks, their shares are not as well under Biden. I get it. However, there's a lot of folks who feel like the president, the administration that has existed since Biden has been in office, their accounts, their finances have not taken a hit. So it depends person to person. Yours truly, I actually got a better source of employment. I used to be an over-the-road driver under Trump. So I actually make more money under Biden. So it doesn't always have anything to do with who's in the White House. But I get your point. As they used to say all the time, it's the economy stupid. So if the economy is better under Trump or better under Biden, that's who a lot of folks are going to run with. I think Trump wanted to get out of NATO was because we were paying more than anyone else and everyone should pay their share, says Alan. That's what he orated. But as my last caller just stated, if you disband NATO, it allows the snakes to feast on the garden. Would it be beneficial to the United States to disband NATO over finances and let the evils that be on the planet have their way? That's what we're asking. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get your boy on up to 30 thou. Looking in the comment section. Let's go. My next caller's name is Brandon. Good afternoon, Brandon. It didn't say let's go, but I just added that in there. Brandon, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's going good. Trump seeking immunity from the Supreme Court. What say you?
So I don't know too much about all that. I've been listening to your live. You're very open about everything, which I appreciate.
Thank you.
I'm kind of like that myself.
Okay.
I see both sides with both things. As far as immunity goes,
Right.
I don't think he should be doing that. That's just my opinion. I mean, we both know if he gets in office, he's gonna pardon himself. Which he has a right to do.
But let me ask that. Now, you are correct. He currently has a right to do that. Do you believe that is something that should be looked into or possibly changed, that a president can be convicted of an actual crime and pardon his own self from the crime? Do you think that is something we should look into going forward?
I think we should look into, but we should also look into the fact of what was the actual crime. If it's something very serious as to, I mean, him trying to throw the election and stuff like that, that's a gray area. I don't think he should be pardoning himself for that at all.
Well, wait a minute, though, Brandon. What other crime would a president really commit? I mean, they have all the money in the world. There's really nothing else to do other than commit crimes to remain in power. Brandon apparently has gotten a call. We'll give him a couple seconds, otherwise we'll move it on. Okay, Brandon, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I was looking at something on my phone. If he's trying to force himself in power, no, I don't think he should be pardoning himself for that at all.
So let me jump to the actual chase. Do you believe Trump committed any crimes while he was commander-in-chief?
As far as on January 6th,
yeah,
I personally do not think so. I mean, if you look at what he said, come down, protest your opinions, basically, fight for what you believe in. But he didn't say, "Oh, come break into the Capitol."
Wait, Brandon, you really softened up the actual message he gave on January 6th. First of all, you ever heard of the phrase "stop the steal"?
Yeah.
What was stolen?
I personally don't believe anything was stolen.
Okay, so why were they there on January 6th?
They were doing whatever they believed was right for them. I mean,
what did they believe was right for them on January 6th? What was the purpose of them showing up there? What Trump? Wait, hold on. Trump gave a speech that was preceded by Giuliani, Steve Bannon, I believe Flynn, and the rest of it. What was the speeches about?
I think the soul of the speech was Trump thought that the election was stolen, correct?
Okay, right. And you were just admitting that nothing was stolen, at least in your opinion, and according to just about every court in the land, nothing was stolen that day. So,
Correct.
so is it safe to say that if Trump hadn't told these folks the election was stolen, they wouldn't be there?
That's a very strong possibility, yes.
Okay. So if they're not there, does January 6th exist as an awful day in our history?
Well, what made it so awful? I mean, what was so awful about it other than, yeah, there was some destruction and sense of that, but it was no different than all the protests that took place over the summer of 2020.
Well, you're in D.C. as the president of the United States, even according to your own opinion, holding a rally about a lie. You're even admitting the election wasn't stolen. That is what he is there telling those people. But yet, he's not accountable for anything. He's telling these folks something that you admit is not even true.
Correct.
Okay. But no accountability for doing that.
Well, it's his opinion, it's my opinion, and it's everyone's opinion who went there. It's all their opinion on what they want to believe. And that's
wait.
what makes
Well, hold on. You're saying opinion. They're suggesting that Ruby Freeman was passing around ballots and cheating. They're suggesting that the Dominion voting machines were switching votes to Biden. They have lost huge civil suits for this stuff. Don't you think it goes a little bit further than just an opinion and starts entering the realm of an outright lie?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't read too much into all that stuff. I'm solely just on here putting out my opinion for everything. I'm not going based off of things that I've read or anything. I don't have any sources on me right now to prove anything. I'm speaking solely on my opinion.
And that's what you're here for. Listen, I don't know any more than you do. The whole purpose is for us to exchange a conversation. So understand, I'm not talking down to you or doubting your intelligence. I'm just having a conversation with you. But what I want to ask you then, have you seen, now that we're nearly three plus years out, have you seen anything at this point to suggest Trump won the 2020 election? Because he is still telling people he was victorious in that election.
No, and that's kind of why I'm like stringing away from him. Like, I know a lot of people, if you vote for Trump, you're MAGA automatically. That's what a lot of people assume. But there's idolizing Trump, or people are people that went to January 6th and were involved in all that stuff. You have people like that, and then you have people that are like, oh yeah, I like his policies, and
go ahead.
When he says stuff like this, it kind of just pushes me further away.
So let me ask you this. Now, you clearly favor Trump's policies. I'm assuming you voted for him in 16 and 20?
In 2020, I did vote for him, yes.
2020, fine, that's fine. So, and there's legitimate reasons to vote for Trump. I'm not trying to bash Trump. I'm just trying to dissect what happened. Do you think right now, with him running for office in November, with him still suggesting that he won the election in 2020, with you and I admitting that even if he wasn't responsible for what happened on January 6th, he is the reason it happened because of what he told those people. We know he's running for office 3 years later, still telling people exactly what he told the rioters on January 6th. Do you believe that that rhetoric is harmful for a president to still tell the people?
Yeah, I don't think he should be really spewing all that information out. It blows my mind that they're still hung up on this. I mean, it happened 3 years ago. It was the thing, like, if it was still a couple months after January, I could see him still spewing that information. He's trying to make his case or whatnot, but we're 3 years into it now. And it's kind of just like, all right, I lost that battle. Let's give it up. Let's go win the presidency, show what I'm really about, make the finances go back to the way it was when he was in office. Because I don't know about you. I know you said that you're
No, listen. I get the point, and I sympathize with anybody who feels they were doing much better financially under Trump. I'm not going to take that away from you. That's a legitimate reason to vote for him. But when you say that you admit the election wasn't stolen from him, and you admit that even though you don't hold him accountable for January 6th, they acted that way because of what he told them. We're both agreeing that he's still telling people that now, irrespective of what he knows that message caused on January 6th. Should that make him someone that is not, I don't want to say qualified, but someone that is not suitable for the office because he's still telling people that?
Like I said, it's a gray line because, I mean, he has his right to spew whatever shit he wants to say. That's his freedom of speech. So you're crossing the line with that, which is what our Constitution is based on. And I mean, anyone can say anything.
Well, hold on. That's not necessarily. Hold on. Hang on a second. That's not necessarily true. If you were to pull out a cigarette lighter, maybe to look down on the floor in the theater, to look for your phone that you dropped. You pulled out a cigarette lighter and flicked it so you can look on the floor. And I started yelling fire in the theater and people started trampling each other. Even though I know it's just you with a cigarette lighter, you're telling me I shouldn't be responsible for that? Because of free speech, I can say whatever I want?
No, you're right. There's defamation and then there's instances like that. But do I think he's fit for office just because he's saying, oh, the election was still stolen 3 years later? I don't see that as a full-blown instance like what you're saying.
But you don't feel it's a full-blown instance. You've seen what happened on January 6th, so obviously there are thousands of people that do. People who are willing to take up arms and cause harm based on something you're admitting is a total lie, and you're also admitting he's still telling the people that lie today.
Yes.
No problem with that. In the White House again.
Personally, I don't see an issue.
Okay.
No.
All right. You drive a hard bargain, Brandon. I do got to moving on. You're always welcome back. Appreciate the conversation.
I appreciate you too, man.
Absolute. Good talk. Moving on the program. By the way, for you folks on YouTube, feel free to smash that like button. Certainly a subscription would be appreciated if you enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host trying to limit, block, ban, or censor you for your speech. Nice adult conversation, though. I appreciate that comment. I can't read your damn names. I got to get a dark cue card or something because I can't read. Tony Mac, Democrats never said the election was stolen. They said Trump colluded with the Russians. Ray says the Constitution worked for certain situations, not others for some people. Fact. It was written that way from the very beginning. From the very beginning, the Constitution wasn't designed to work for people like me. So that absolutely is a fact. Going to the box, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. 45,000 would be appreciated. Shay, I believe you come with an invite. Good afternoon, Shay. I believe I was told to bring you on, Shay, for a history lesson. Good afternoon.
Hi. Right. I know. I was tagged and said Shay can go over and.
All right. What you got for me?
Handsome liberal, and I'm like, what? I don't need to educate handsome liberal. That man's a smart man. Now, come on now.
I'm not always the brightest bulb in the shed. So give me what I need to know.
Okay, so I guess you guys were talking about it yesterday. I did a history lesson on the Star Spangled Banner, right, our national anthem, because there was an uproar about the quote-unquote black national anthem being sung at the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
And many people were very upset about that, and there's only one national anthem. There's no such thing and all this stuff. So the thing about it, Francis Scott Key, when he wrote the Star Spangled Banner, he wrote it in 1814, right?
Okay.
For the War of 1812, right? He actually witnessed the attack on Fort Henry, right? And so the flag that was flying there is actually in the Smithsonian, and it was called the Stars and Bars, right? The Stars and Stripes, and it only had 15 stars, and it actually had 15 stripes at the time. So that is, and when he wrote it, we only sing the first verse, right? We only sing the very first one. But in the third verse and in the fourth verse, Francis Scott Key was actually a slave owner. Right?
Let me interrupt your lesson real quick. Hold on, let me interrupt your lesson real quick because I want you to tackle this as well because folks are commenting while you're stating what you're stating. Alien Bob in the comments says the national anthem is for all of us. We are all Americans. Was that anthem, in your opinion, written for everyone?
No, it was not. It was not. And
why not?
It says that in the actual anthem.
Say that again.
It says that in the actual anthem. If you read the fourth verse, it says this is for freemen.
Wow. So the enslaved it did not apply to.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So historically, he did not include slaves in the anthem. He only talks about freemen. I can read the actual verse if I need to.
I would like to hear that. You said the fourth verse. Clearly we don't sing that. Yeah. I just want to hear a little bit of that.
No, we don't. And a lot of people don't know this stuff. And so it's an interesting thing. Give me 2 seconds. So I'll pull up the lyrics to the national anthem. Let's see.
I'm used to the part where it stops at the land of the free. That's it, right. Home of the brave.
Home of the brave, yeah. Right? Well, think about it. Land of the free. Were black people free in 1814 in this country?
No, not even 1914 if you ask. In the comments, Luigi says, how did I not know this? What would be the answer for that? Because a lot of Americans don't know that there's 4 versions or 4 verses to the national anthem.
Right. A lot of people don't know this. And it's and honestly, I didn't know it until the discussion of the Black National Anthem, and which is basically let your voices be heard is the name of it, right?
Lift every voice and sing.
Right, lift every voice and sing. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. And so and it was written in 1900 in the celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and it was written in a way to unite all voices.
But hold on. In regards to lift every voice and sing, it was written by a black composer, correct?
Correct.
In what year?
1900.
Yeah, and that was the whole pushback I was given. I think was with Takesha yesterday is that no song written by an African American in the early 1900s is going to be adopted by America. There really was no invention at all that an African American could be the creator of it. Everybody would be like, yes, you did this and you're going to get credit for it. So that doesn't shock me. I don't know what happened with my last caller, but someone did not like what Shay was saying. By the way, Shay, you know how this goes. You're always welcome back on the program. But they took my last caller off for discussing the national anthem, which is a damn shame. I don't know why. Carbon Guy 68. Thank you for the subscription. I don't get a lot of subscribers, so always a pleasure having that. I certainly give you guys a little bit of favoritism in the box because I don't get many of those, so thank you. That's exactly why people don't know about it. Well said, Vision. Exactly that. She started talking about the Star Spangled Banner, wanting to read the 4th verse, and now she got took down from the program. Zion, yeah! Thank you for this hat and mustache. So we're going back to the original topic. Trump suggesting that he should have immunity while he was the commander-in-chief, and it's now going before the SCOTUS. By the way, yay or nay, I'm going to ask you in the comments, Y-A-Y, yay meaning yes, or N-A-Y, nay meaning no. How do you think they'll rule on Trump requesting immunity? Yay or nay? It's a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. Yay or nay in the comments. How many of you think that they will actually grant Trump's wish that he should have had immunity while he was president, thereby, throwing out anything that Jack Smith is working on that took place from January 2017 to January 2021. Once again, I certainly want to thank Heath WH1 for the subscription. Wow, thank you. Thank you, Heath. Absolutely a pleasure. Real quick, going back to the box, I see a lot of nays. Were there any? Yeah, there are some yays in there. I see one or two people do believe that Trump will be granted immunity. I will say this before I go back to the box. I think most folks are looking at these requests, these laws, based on whether they like or hate Trump. They're not looking at them from an objective point of view. In other words, imagine, as opposed to it being Trump, we're talking about the president of Ecuador or the prime minister of Canada or something like that. And they're dealing with all of the things that are orbiting around Trump. And ask yourself, would you have the same opinion? In other words, you hear that the president of Peru is suggesting that the election was stolen from him in his country by the opposing party. Yet all of his administration is saying he lost. His vice president said he lost. His own chief of staff is saying he lost. He took it to court in Peru, and all the judges said he lost. None of the Senate or Congress in Peru is saying he won. But you, looking at this from the outside in, what would you think? Would you think that, yeah, he probably won and all those people are lying about him in this country? I'm asking that you look at what happened in 2020 from an objective point of view. Looking in the comment section, and somebody said, bro lost. All right, we're going back to the box. I don't know what happened with my last caller. Banished Trumpster. Good afternoon. I think I saw Shay. Good afternoon, banished Trumpster. Always a pleasure. Certainly a controversial take if there ever was one. If the box allows him to come up. We'd love to talk to banished Trumpster. It is possible that the election was not free and fair. 100% agree with you, Josh Elin. 2020 election, it's possible that it was not free and fair. 100% agree with you. My humble opinion is you're probably right. It probably wasn't free and fair. I don't think any election in a country with 330 million people can be certain to be free and fair. They probably all have had plenty of impropriety in voting. Hell, I'm African American. Half of the elections, over half of the elections in this country's history, I couldn't participate in at all. So we know they haven't all been free and fair. However, it is a huge difference between an election that is not held properly and Trump winning by a landslide. You or I could cheat on behalf of Biden all day. Maybe sign up 20 dead people and vote for Biden on behalf of them. That doesn't mean Trump won. That means you and I cheated. Trump didn't say there was cheating. He said he won. Is it wrong to ask for the evidence of that? He didn't just say that there was cheating by the Democrats. He stated he won by a landslide. Is it wrong to ask that he show evidence suggesting he actually won by a landslide as he suggested? 3 years out, do you feel confident you've seen enough evidence that he won by a landslide? Look it in the comments. I don't know what happened with my last caller, but keeping it moving. Claims without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. Can't dismiss something that the man is continuing to say. He's still telling folks all over the nation. I believe the polls say 60, nearly 70% of Republicans believe that Trump won in 2020. I have him on the show all the time. I ask folks flat out, what is the evidence that Trump won by a landslide? They give plenty of evidence of improprieties in the election. But when it comes to evidence that he actually won, it is little to non-existent. We can talk about Pennsylvania making changes. We can talk about folks voting without IDs and all of that. None of that shows that he won. Looking in the box. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000. You know how the program is ran. It is always will be MAGA friendly. MAGA are always the preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. Real quick, going back to the box. I don't know what happened with the box, but we'll give it another shot. Cecil Grant. Good afternoon. Talking about immunity for the former president. Cecil, good afternoon.
How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. So what do you think? Trump going to the SCOTUS suggesting he should have been immune from prosecution while he was president. What say you?
I say, if you break the law, you break the law. I mean, there's as far as everybody talking about like the insurrection and all the madness that happened on January 6th, what I think, this is my personal thought, what I think a lot of the patriots received on that day was not to stop the election, right? Was to postpone. See, that's where Mike Pence's job was to come in. There was enough questions, concerns to investigate. See, that's the part there in the Constitution where his voice would have mattered. If a crime happens today, we can't investigate it 4 years from now.
Well, let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this: if Mike Pence had have done what Trump with the agreements of MAGA, if Mike Pence had have took Trump's advice and, as you say, halted the election while there was an investigation taking place, who would have been president while that investigation was ensuing?
Well, it would have remained the way it was. I mean, it would have had to remain in place, I think. I'm not sure.
So what you're saying is while the investigation is going on, Trump is getting more time in the White House than he normally would have.
I'm not sure how that rolls out. So I can't answer a question that I don't know what the procedure would be if they held that up, But I think there was enough evidence to instigate an investigation.
Okay. Well, here's the problem. I think that why this did not happen is because in regards to what Trump was saying happened on the election, in regards to the fraud or the reason that we should have an investigation, there is no shortage of falsehoods that was coming out of Trump's mouth in regards to it. We now know the Ruby Freeman thing is not accurate. That would have been part of the investigation. So he's in office, potentially, according to you, longer than he should be, while we're investigating these women, destroying their lives. Same thing with the Dominion voting machines. We now know that mostly was based on falsehoods. So he's in office longer than he should be.
That's not all based on falsehoods, because we have a case in Georgia where a guy showed that they could be. We shouldn't be voting on a computer. We shouldn't be.
Wait a minute, hold on. Hang on a second. Cecil, there is no flawless system. You said we shouldn't be voting on this. Go ahead.
But paper ballots with a serial number on it is a lot more flawless than somebody with a computer. Because there's always somebody that controls that computer.
Wait, Cecil, you say we shouldn't be voting on the computer because there's somebody that always controls the computer, as if there's no one that controls the ballot that you hand them. You can cheat no matter what the system is.
There's the likelihood with a ballot with a serial number that can't be duplicated, because obviously if you had to go back and count them, then you're going to go look at a serial number that should be duplicated.
You're telling me that if I paid off the right ballot official, I couldn't get somebody to make a complete recopy of your ballot with the serial number on it, just with the opposing candidate checked off. You're telling me that's impossible to do with a piece of paper?
No, not with watermarks in it. Yes, with watermarks in it, it would be impossible.
See, so they have counterfeit money in existence. Watermarks can be redone.
Yeah, they have counterfeit money, but you can also tell the difference.
You're telling me if you had an infinite budget, it's impossible to redo a watermark.
Probably not. This is the world we live in, corruption. So there is. Yes. I will 100% agree with you. If there's a will, there's always a way.
Right.
Right. But I think, come on, we're taking elections that last us weeks. Months.
So let me ask you this then. If you, and I agree with you, there's likely the possibility that there were improprieties in voting, but what led Trump to say he won by a landslide? Where is that coming from?
I just think those saying a landslide, I think is just because he saw so many people coming out. I don't know where he would have won by a landslide, because more people voted, right, because they hated Trump. So I mean, I think and I really think he's got himself in a mess now. Like this election here, he should learn to shut his mouth, right, and work on policy. Give us policy, man. Stop talking about, I'll punch this guy if he punches me, and I'll punch you if you punch me. Dude, we're the ones suffering, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do believe the man really needs to pipe down with, some of his madness where it's tit for tat all the time, because in the process, we're all drowning.
Well, I will tell you in regards to that statement that he needs to stop the tit for tat and things like that. It's possible you could get your wish if there were not so many MAGA cheering him on when he's saying things like bird brain and Ron DeSanctimonious and tearing apart his own party. If I'm Trump and I am a showman, I'm an entertainer in addition to being a politician, I'm going to keep giving the people what they apparently want. MAGA is now calling Nikki Haley a bird brain on every social media platform in existence. You can't expect the guy to stop something that his supporters are overwhelmingly favoring.
You're right there. See, that's, I mean, the slinging, even though, and you get a lot of people, they always say, when you say you're voting for Trump, especially now, like Trump tards and all the, you know what? I'm not out here, like, I don't get on here and go after somebody that's voting the other way and attack them personally, because, and I'll give you a prime example. What I mean by that is, so the left always screams and complains that the right is against the LGBTQ community, correct?
No, no, hang on. When you say the left, hang on. I'll let you continue. Hold on, I'll let you continue, but I just want to correct something. You say the left complains that the right is against the LGBT community. I'm just going to tell you, the LGBT community itself says the right is against them. Go.
No, correct, right? And there's people out there. Me personally, I'm 55 years old. I grew up watching MASH. I have a lot of friends. I tell you, so in our minds, that was already there.
Okay.
And you're going to have people that hate on people no matter what way we look at it, right? But just because you got a few mice that are chatting.
That is not, but Cecil, it's not a few mice. If you watch liberal media, MSNBC or even CNN to some degree, and then you watch Fox News, OAN, or Newsmax, and you look at the stories that both networks do in the LGBT community, there's no denying that the right covers the LGBT community from a negative point of view. You went in the wrong bathroom, you're playing for the wrong team, you're affecting children in the wrong way. It is all negative. There are no positive stories. They're not hanging out at a drag queen show or a pride parade having a nice conversation with members of that community like they are on the left-wing networks. It is 100% negative. That's where that's coming from.
Because but what's the reason is you had some grimy people that infiltrated the LGBT community.
And they are intentionally seeking out the grimy people. There's a ton of positive folks in the LGBT community.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. Absolutely there is.
Okay.
There's good people everywhere.
Let me ask you this question. Why is Kid Rock being shown on right-wing networks shooting up a transgender beer can or whatever the hell it is? Why would they put that on their network if they're friends with that community?
I think it's crazy and insane to put something like that up there. I don't watch the mainstream media anymore.
Okay.
You know where I get all my news? I get all my news off TikTok.
All right.
Because you know why? You know why you get it off TikTok? Because we're actually majority is actually being honest with each other. We're not trying to hide. I can learn to disagree with somebody, right? And you know what I want? I just want to live what our Constitution says. I want to live and let everybody else live.
Same.
We as people, that's what we need to do for each other.
Well, but that is not what they see on the right when they hear that their books discussing their community is being removed. They're passing anti-LGBT laws all over the place. They see that coming from the right. That's not coming from the left. They don't believe the right has any love for them at all, and it's hard to make a case And I'm good at playing devil's advocate, but it's really difficult to make a case that the right is friendly to the LGBT community. I can't come up with anything.
Well, because again, we got some chaos that's infiltrated, man. We had new people having a parade in New York, man. I mean, come on, with their kids there. I mean, you know, you.
But that's what But Cecil, that is what I'm saying. Is that when it comes to the LGBT community, the right is looking for the bad elements. You know how many parties, how many things they throw that are positive? You don't attend none of that. It's only the negative stuff that makes right-wing media.
Well, because that's quite negative. I mean, dude, if you go outside and take a piss, you get arrested. Okay? So as far as having nude men and women parading down the middle of the street, I mean, we have laws that says that's illegal.
But here's what I don't get, because we're talking about Trump with the immunity thing. If the LGBT community hosts a party, drag queen show or something like that, if something goes wrong, we blame the whole LGBT community as being harmful to children. But if Trump throws a gathering that gets out of hand because of what he's telling the people, suddenly it's not the whole administration that gets blamed, but just a few people in it. How does that work?
Well, first of all, I didn't say like the LGBT.
You know what I'm talking about, Cecil, though. Same thing applies to Black Lives Matter. When they throw a gathering, when most of their gatherings are peaceful, but when a few of them get out of hand, or a city then the whole Black Lives Matter gets blamed. But when it happens on January 6th, we're able to see the bad guys from the good guys and separate them. Same thing with Charlottesville, good people on both sides. How does that work?
You kind of got me on that.
All right. I'm just trying. Listen, you'll get me the next time, but I just wanted to make that point that we're separating areas where we want to feel that people are the good guys, and we're clumping up the people we don't like. It is pretty much clear as day. See, so I do got to move it on. Appreciate you coming through. You're always welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
100%. All right, looking in the comments section, Britney, 2004. Are you talking about Britney Spears? Did she walk out on the inauguration? Is Britney, bitch, and put her hand on the Bible? How does that work? Britney, 2004. Just like Republicans get blamed for January 6th every time. The whole gathering was Republican involved. There's no liberals in it. Listen, some folks will say Antifa was responsible for January 6th. I don't know. But the whole gathering was hosted by Republicans on January 6th. You had the head of the Republican government there. Who else are you going to blame? I don't get that. I mean, what do you mean that the Republicans get blamed for January 6th? Who else are you going to blame? They all wearing Republican garb and apparel? What do you think people are going to blame? Looking in the comments, Antifa or the FBI was totally there, says Lisa. Maybe so. But I go back to my original comment that I often state. All of these folks, talking about tens of thousands of voters, come to D.C. on January 6th because Trump told them the election was not held fairly. They're all there to defend President Trump from being, the victim of a stolen election. And out of nowhere, even though Trump said go to the Capitol building and do it peacefully, somebody named Ray Epps or some random Antifa member that they've never met in their life, don't know from Adam, could convince them to do the exact opposite of the guy they flew all the way to Washington to see. Does that make any sense? You came out here to defend Trump. You came out here to hear Trump speak. He told you to go to the Capitol building and go peacefully. And it's only a 2-mile walk. And in that 2-mile walk, you let some guy, allegedly Ray Epps, that you don't even fucking know, convince you to do the exact opposite of what you paid all your plane fare, bus fare, or drove out here to do. Where does that make sense at? Where does that make any sense at all? That Ray Epps, some random stranger, to everybody in the crowd, could just convince them to go against what President Trump told them. Nobody's questioning that. They're just all going after Ray Epps. and suggesting that the folks who followed his orders, if he gave them, are all innocent. No, blame it on this dude. He's the one that told him to do it. I haven't seen something that sounded that weird since the guy yelled out the Warriors did it in the 1979 film, for you folks who are old enough to remember that shit. Going back to the box, that's crazy though. I don't get it. Why go out to D.C. if you're not going to listen to the guy you're there to actually defend? Going back to the box, Shay was going to read verse 4 of the national anthem. So I'll give you a moment. I don't know. Once again, the box is acting weird. Yeah, the Warriors did it. How many of you folks remember that 1979 film? The Warriors did it, and everybody, he shot Cyrus. Shay, I tried to bring you up. I'm having some trouble with the box. We'll try it one more time here. Banished Trumpster. Complete immunity for Trump as president is what he's asking the Supreme Court for. What say you?
The Trump immunity thing?
Yes.
Sorry, I lied about that.
Say that again?
Yeah, you're talking about the Trump immunity thing?
Yeah, he wants the Supreme Court to
I
get...
like that bit. I had a connection.
You got a bad connection or something. I'm trying to... Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Do you believe the Supreme Court should grant Trump immunity? Okay, yeah, you got a weird connection. All right, we'll move it on. He's coming in and out, so we'll go straight. I wanted to hear that fourth verse where we're Shay.
We'll try this again.
Sure.
People, don't report me. Oh my goodness.
It wasn't me. I'm going to pull the Shaggy every time. It wasn't me. Give me that fourth verse.
Okay, so in the third verse, he mentions that their blood was washed and their foul footstep pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and the slave from the terror of the flight and the gloom of the grave. And it goes on to say, oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved home and war's dissolution.
Yeah.
So it goes on, and I guess, and at the very end it says, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave over the land of the free and the brave.
So do you believe, because we're talking about Lift Every Voice and singing this, supposed second Black national anthem or whatever. Do you believe Black people should demand their own national anthem or demand that the original one be scrapped?
No, I don't. And I don't think that has ever been part of the discourse, to be honest.
Actually, it has. If it's mentioned in slavery, people have actually said they need to get rid of that like them statues.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's something to be said, and let's just be real clear. The national anthem wasn't our national anthem until 1931. Okay. It was Herbert Hoover that signed it in as our national anthem. So let's be clear that Lift All Your Voices and all that was actually written before the national anthem was ever a thing in our deal. And so when we look at history, and we have to say that, I think that there could be a new way to do this, and that we understand the historical context of the national anthem, just like our own Constitution did not include women or Black people. It just didn't. And so when we talk about this, and when we have to reflect upon our history, it's not about changing everything. Like I made a point. When we talk about when the national anthem was written, when we talk about Star-Spangled Banner in 1814, the flag only had 15 stars. No. We changed the flag.
So let me give you let me ask you a question that's more modern related in regards to the anthem. When folks hear the anthem and they feel this country has not treated them right, and they take a knee during the anthem while it's playing, do you see that as being disrespectful to the song or to the country?
Not at all. Not at all, because I believe it is your right. I believe kneeling is a very respectful thing to do. You kneel when you pray, right? Yeah. You kneel at the graves. It's a respectful thing to do. But even when we want to talk about that, the Supreme Court ruled that you could burn the flag. Now, I don't personally think you should do that, but that's just me. But at the end of the day, I don't wrap my ideology and the love of my country in fabric. I mean, I think we have to be really clear on what we love about this country, and it's not a piece of fabric. People didn't die for the fabric. They die and they love this country because we are based on a set of ideals that all men are created equal, right?
Yeah.
Now, we haven't always attained that, and we're still getting there. And yes, we've made a huge progress on this. But when we look back at things, and I am not one for taking down a bunch of statues, especially of our founding fathers. Now, the Robert E. Lee statue, his own family wanted that taken down because Robert E. Lee fought for the idea of slavery, right? And so, yeah, when you think about that and that's in a public place, maybe that's not real conducive for everyone to feel really.
You're sounding like Nikki Haley, Shay. Let me ask you this real quick though, in regards to what's in the comments.
Don't say I sound like Nikki Haley.
Yeah, that's what she took down the Confederate flag out of the Capitol building. You sounded like Nikki
Well,
Haley.
she did, but she doesn't think that slavery caused the Civil War. Anyway, but let's not go there, shall we? Anyway.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this, and that is true. Denny in the comments stated, "I see it as disrespectful. If you don't like the country, don't sit around waiting for handouts." How do you respond to folks that say, "Listen, you take a knee during the anthem, it's disrespectful. If you don't like it, get the hell out of the country"?
Yeah, I think that's it is such a ridiculous thing. It just really is. If you think Putin is so great, then go live in Moscow. That doesn't make sense. Just think about it. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. Listen, it is our job as citizens to hold our government accountable. It is our job to protest. It is our job to lift our voices and be heard. That has nothing to do with whether I love my country or not. You can absolutely say, hey, I don't like this. That doesn't mean I have to move.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I gotta agree with you. I gotta agree with that because I do believe if you're for free speech, which is the way I run this program, free speech should not just mean something that you agree with. If you're for free speech, you're for free speech, not just the speech that you favor, and that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have to do that. I may not like what you say, but I have to protect your right to say it.
Yeah.
Now, if your rhetoric is violent and could hurt somebody, that's where I say, okay, you're crossing a line. You know, you have to be careful on what your words can do to people. Like you said, yelling fire in a theater. That can hurt people. That should not happen.
So then we have to ask the obvious question, which is kind of what you're hinting to. January 6th, what Trump told that crowd, is that covered by free speech? He thought the election was stolen. He told those folks how he felt.
Yeah, he told himself how he felt, but you made a very good point. He didn't just whine about the fact that he felt that there was problems, right? He said, as you said, that he won it by a landslide. He knows that's not true. As President of the United States, your job is to keep the country together, not divide us apart.
Yeah.
So because he knew he did not win and he lied, outright lied about it, then caused people to believe him. Over 70% still believe and that the election was stolen, which what that does is that affects our democracy. It affects our republic, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. We can get into it later. But you have to understand that as President of the United States, he has an oath to the Constitution to uphold the Constitution. And the fact that he went and did what he did was absolutely not being leader in charge. He should never, ever hold that office again because of that.
So let me ask you this question. Just, we're just speculating here, but because he's still saying he won, do you think he genuinely believes he won in 2020?
No, he doesn't. No. He knows he did. He knows he didn't win. He knows that. He was told that by many people. What they have said, what even his own daughter said he lost. I mean, you have to understand this. So, he knows that. But what he decided to do was to listen to the conspiracy theories. He decided to listen to those that were willing to push the fact that he won. That's what he did. He made a huge decision in that. And I think it has really cost us as our country for him to decide to do that. Instead of listening to the facts, to his own attorneys, to his own attorney general, to his own family, and those that told him that he lost and, sir, we need to move on, he decided not to take that advice. And he has been pushing this rhetoric ever since. Yeah. And it's dangerous. It's just dangerous.
It has been harmful to some, because a lot of folks, from the Mike Lindell to the Rudolph Giuliani's to even the folks that are serving time. Yeah, a lot of folks have.
They've lost everything. It's sad, but listen, that's their problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. It's not me, but Shay, I do appreciate you coming on.
In the end of the day, when we let people want to sing the Black National Anthem, let them sing it. It's okay. That is what is so beautiful about our country, people. Respect everybody's feelings about things. It doesn't, we have room for everybody's thoughts.
Last question, real quick. If folks have an issue with the Black National Anthem, asking that same question in reverse, is it disrespectful if folks remain seated while the Black National Anthem is playing?
No, I don't think it's disrespectful at all.
All right. Appreciate you coming on, Shay. We made it through this time.
Yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. All right, guys. Thank you for everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Appreciate the lesson. Thank you. Wow. Wow. And there you go, folks. And what she's saying, I have heard, particularly the third verse where she talks about the national anthem does mention slavery. I think the issue is a lot of our history is rooted in white supremacy. I hate to use the term, but there's no other way to look at it. And folks are suggesting, listen, that's the way it was. That's the way it always has been. Quit trying to change it. Fair enough, but you can't, you can't expect everybody, particularly those that our history did not work in favor of, to just remain quiet. I mean, even with these statues, folks say you're removing history and things like that. There's no denying that if the Confederate South had have won a Civil War, the lifestyle and freedoms of minorities would have not been favorable. They had nothing good in store for black people. So when you got a statue of somebody up that fought on behalf of that, some people are going to complain. That's kind of how it is. Looking in the comments, the Black National Anthem is the one thing that we can hold on to, says Twin Mom. I think music has always been something that has united the blacks in this country, because there's also ways of delivering messages and things like that in the music. So, yeah, I agree with you. That is one way that blacks have been able to unite when a lot of other entities, facets of life in this country were against blacks. But some would say we're in 2024 now and things have changed. We can debate that on another show. Going back to the box, it's not officially the Black National Anthem. I can't speak on that because when I grew up, we sang it in schools back in the 70s and 80s, and I never heard anybody refer to it as the Black National Anthem. It was just a song, lift every voice and sing. I know all the words to it. I've never heard of it being referred to as the Black National Anthem until about the last 4 or 5 years ago. I had never heard that. Going back to the comment section, do appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. We might be able to get up to 100,000, but certainly 90,000 likes will be possible. Over 1,000 of you in here, so I do appreciate that. And for you folks on TikTok, certainly understand the charger setup, so I understand your screen is a bit crooked, but feel free to smash that like button. Certainly a subscription would be kind of you. Stick the ruler has been holding on. Good afternoon, Stick. Trump seeking immunity from the SCOTUS. What say you?
Yeah, I don't think that Trump should get immunity, my friend. I think that the appellate courts, are the first couple of courts that he had to go through first, had it right. I think that the Supreme Court definitely will back the appellate court.
Really?
And yeah, because if he gets immunity, then that means Biden can go ahead and do whatever he needs to do, and he won't be, prosecuted in any form or fashion because he has immunity.
Yeah. And so I get your take on the immunity. I'm going to ask you what I asked some of the other previous guests. Do you think while Trump was president, he committed any crimes to be prosecuted for at all?
Yeah, I do.
Examples. Give me one.
Let's just stay with what we know, right? Fake electorals.
You're talking about down in Georgia, you're talking about the fake electorals.
While he was president, he had lost his job by then, but he hadn't turned over, the presidential, whatever you want to call it, office yet, and he didn't tend to.
Yeah.
So
real quick, and by the way, Kim, Thank you, Kim, for the subscription. Absolutely a pleasure. I did see that. That did not go unnoted. I want to thank you, Kim. In regards to what we're talking about there, Stick, I got folks like on YouTube, I can't pronounce it. V is saying, he got my vote, I could care less. If you think that Trump committed crimes, like with the fake electorates, like you're mentioning, fake electorates, like you're mentioning down in Georgia, who many of them have already pled guilty, why do you think there are so many folks on the MAGA side of the aisle that are saying, listen, even if he committed crimes, I don't even give a damn. I'm going to vote for him anyway.
Well, I really can't speak for insanity. I won't try to. Yeah, that's insane. Because, I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. Joe Biden can't do none of the stuff that Trump has done. Barack Obama can't do none of the stuff that Trump has done. Hell, Bush can't do none of the stuff that Barack has done or Trump has done. So with that being said, you know, it's insane that they would even try to back somebody that don't have nothing to do with government. So let's just talk about my boy not passing the bill or even giving the bill a chance before it hit the floor, just because Trump told him, hey, I have nothing to run on if you do this. Well, if you love America and you want to be the president of the United States, I would think that you would love Americans and you would get them what they need, which is a border deal. That's what you guys on the Republican side have been crying and complaining about. So yeah, like if you're gonna love this country, if you're gonna be the president of this country, do right by the country. And I think well, how do you respond to them folks that suggest that, listen, we do want the border to be taken care of, but the border bill that's been proposed sucks. It's got more money to the Ukraine and foreign countries than it do to our own border. How do you respond to that? Well, what I would say is, first of all, if you got a deal and the Republicans came up with it, I would just say that would be something that on a later date that you need to go talk to the Republicans about, because right now, all you care about is the border. So even though other countries are getting money or equipment, I mean, it doesn't fade out that it was a good doggone deal, a better deal than the Republicans had came up with.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that certainly MAGA wants to know, because it looks shady to some degree. And even as someone who leans left, I have to almost agree that folks on the right have been complaining about the border since Biden became president. They had to literally beg Kamala to go down to the border. And I think it was damn near a year before she even went down there to see what was happening, suggesting the whole time that we didn't have a border problem to begin with. Why is it nearly the end of Biden's term before he is finally willing to work with Republicans and try to get a border bill? Did he not drop the ball on the border?
No, he didn't drop the ball on the border. I'll tell you what happened. He had more and bigger things to handle than the border. He really did. And the thing of it is, the only people that was making a big commotion about the border was the Republicans.
No, wait, hold on. Stick.
Because the orange man told them don't do it. They didn't do it.
Stick, we're a sovereign nation. What do you mean more important things than defending our borders? You do realize that is very important to maintain our sovereignty.
You said it took a year, right?
It took a year for her to go down there.
Exactly, because guess what? That wasn't a Democratic talking point. That's all it is for Republicans, a talking point. That's why Donald Trump wants it to still be an issue, because it's just a talking point. We have people that on TikTok, on the news every day, they go down to the border. Sometimes you'll get, it's an influx at the border, and sometimes you'll get just open gates. You'll just see big wall gates just are open.
So let me make sure I'm getting clarity on this, because you're saying it's a Republican talking point. Are you suggesting that outside of what the Republicans are complaining about, there really has not been a border problem at all? It's just Republicans making noise about it?
Yeah, I mean, nobody else is talking nothing about the border. Only time you hear any Democrats talking about the border is when they get a bunch of immigrants that were never told that they were coming to their state or city. So I mean, it's really not that serious, but they're making it to be serious on how they're doing it. I mean, it's a political stunt. We all know it's a political stunt. We've seen that Judge Abbott is sending people to Chicago and New York and any other place that he can that's considered a democratic sanctuary city, and he's not telling nobody. And on top of that, the money that he's getting from the federal government, he's not sending to those cities and those states.
Is it possible that folks on the left did not see the same issue with the border as folks on the right because they were not the ones dealing with it? In other words, Texas is one of the easiest states to cross the Rio Grande and enter the country illegally. That's a Republican state. So the Texans have always been complaining, particularly the farm owners and ranchers right down on the border, that their property was getting stolen. People were violating their territory, coming on their land. Same thing with Arizona, which is a red state. You don't hear a lot of outcry from neither California or New Mexico. But the predominant problem has always been in Texas. Is it possible that the Democrats weren't complaining because they didn't have to deal with it until he started sending them folks to Chicago and New York and places like that?
Well, the thing of it is, again, I don't think Chicago, New York, or any other place that's receiving migrants, are really getting affected. The only thing that's affecting them is them not knowing when they're coming and where they're going. So, and then on top of that, like I said, not allocating the money. I mean, you're receiving it, but I mean, you putting them on a jet and sending them somewhere else. So
you're suggesting that as long as there's enough money sent for the migrants, and if Abbott lets folks know where they're dropping them off, the city of Chicago and New York, the residents won't have a problem with the immigrants.
I feel like it won't be such a mad rush to try to find what to do with them. It would be, in a sense, orderly. It wouldn't be just total chaos. Oh my God, they just came here. It's 5 a.m. and it's freezing cold, and we didn't even know that they were coming.
That's a real easy problem to deal with. If that was the argument from the city of Chicago or the city of New York that we're okay taking the immigrants, we just need to know when they're coming, there's only a few major highways that come into the city. Put a state trooper there and stop all of the buses. Any passenger bus that comes in the city, you should easily be able to identify that, particularly if it has a Texas plate. That shouldn't be hard to do.
Well, he's busing, plane, he's using plane, train. I mean,
yeah.
he's just trying to get them out of his state. And like I said, the way he's doing it is wrong for the citizens of the state that he's shipping them to, and or the taxpayers that are paying the taxes for these migrants to be processed. I mean, that's what it's for. It's for the process. It's to pay the people who are patrolling the border and process those people who are coming in. But you're not sending that money. What you're doing is you're finding these cheap airfares and cheap bus lines, or bus lines that are going out of business, and airlines that are going out of business, and you're using those planes. But it's like you could be making infrastructure versus this political stunt you're doing.
So how do you respond? Like in the comments, Country Hound Dog points out, no, he is actually waking people up. How do you respond to folks that say, listen, what Governor Abbott is doing might not be the best way to handle it, but by him sending these migrants up north, he's waking liberals up to the problem we actually have? Because there's no shortage of liberals all over the cable news outlets, particularly they're going to show you on Fox, but there's no shortage of liberals now bitching about what's going on. So is it possible that Governor Abbott is doing exactly what Country Hound Dog is saying, is that he's waking people up to the problem that exists?
Well, I'll say this. If you want to wake people up, that's fine. But let's just say people are woke already. And we already know DeSantis don't like that. But let's just say people are woke already, right? Because I'm in Florida, so I already know about DeSantis and how he runs this state and everything. So let's just say people are woke. Okay, if you come to Florida, that's where woke comes to die. That's what he says.
Yeah.
So waking people up is the wrong thing for a Republican to do. Let's be honest.
I get it. You're saying the usage of the word woke. They have their own little. I get that point.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to wake people up, I mean, you already did it, because again, you got a bipartisan bill that has been passed a bipartisan bill that has been passed in the sense of the Senate. And all they had to do was go down to the House. All y'all had to do was sign off on it. Instead of signing off on it, what did you do? You listened to a person that is not in government at this moment. He's a regular citizen. Yes, he's running for president, but he's not your president. He was your president, but he's not now. So why would you why would you take away from your constituents and or the American public by everybody saying, including Republicans that came up with the deal that it's a good deal? Why would you ruin that?
I got a host of things I could talk to you about in regards to that bill, but I do got to move it on, Stick. You know how the program works. Appreciate you coming in. Thanks for holding, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, looking in the comments, what about Texas? Oh, my God. That's what this is all about, is Governor Abbott asked that same question. You guys keep saying that there's no issue at the border. All of my citizens down here in the Lone Star State seem to think otherwise. What about us? So to get attention, as Country Hound Dog said, and wake people up, well, I'm going to just start sending these folks to the states where you guys claim there's no problem. You say we should be friendly to immigrants. Well, here, take 100,000 of them and show me the friendship. And obviously, it has drawn a hell of a lot of attention from folks on the left. And listen, I'm not totally a fan of how he done it. I do believe that Governor Abbott has acted in some ways that really lacks humanity. He's been inhumane with the way he sent the immigrants up north, but it certainly has made his point relevant. He's all in the news. He's certainly, without Abbott and to a lesser degree Ron DeSantis, we probably would still be dealing with the border the way we were 2-3 years ago. Governor Abbott has made a lot of inroads on getting the border addressed, whether you like it or not. He's been very instrumental in that. Speaking of Country Hound Dog, let's go back to the box. Well, wait a minute, I hit something else. 4X Chaos. That's a Trump seeking immunity from SCOTUS. What say you?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. I was going to say, we're talking about the border, right? Let's take mainstream media off the board. Let's go with something called the Declaration of North America. It's something where Biden, in February of 2021, went and did a handshake with Canada and Mexico. And let's give you a little more timeline. 2016, there was something called Declaration of New York, Declaration of New York, 2016. It's a UN-sanctioned document for humane treatment of asylees and refugees. Okay? So then, step forward, 2021, Declaration of North America, that handshake and agreement was exactly the same wording, except it was for DEI. There's multiple facets of the Declaration of North America. At the same time, there's something called the Declaration of Los Angeles, which is pretty much written exactly the same way as 2016. A declaration.
Okay, so what's your point? I'm trying to figure this out.
We're saying that the border's open, and it's for humane refugee and asylum seekers.
Let me ask that, because that is what's happening. Most of these folks coming to the country are coming legally because they're using the asylum claim to get in legally. But what I want to ask you, 4X Chaos, do you really believe that most of these folks coming in this country are seeking asylum because of seeking asylum for the actual reasons they're allowed to? Or are they just using this as a temporary way to get into the country, hoping they can then either get some type of amnesty or, hide under the radar and just stay here? Do you think they actually have legitimate asylum claims with the number of folks coming here?
I would think if I seen the propaganda of the United States being the most wonderful nation in the world, I'd want a piece of myself.
That's true, but that ain't what I'm asking you.
Right. Are they? No, they're not legitimately all asylum seekers.
So Trump has promised to give us the largest deportation in history. And if you believe, just like I do, that most of them are not legitimate asylum seekers, what he is suggesting might be what this country needs. Do you not agree that the folks who are not here on a legitimate asylum claim should be sent out of the country expeditiously?
So I'm going to say that it's going to be a really, really large task. I mean, we've been dealing with the immigration process for decades. And when I say that, it's always been an election issue also.
Yeah, but Forex chaos, you say it's going to be a really large task. I'm not disagreeing with that. But if you're giving resources to people who have no legal right or legitimate claim to be here on asylum, isn't that a really large bill, quite expensive to this nation? Because until they are sent back, the taxpayers are covering a lot of them.
Yeah, I've been wondering that myself. I mean, to actually grasp that task and to see where the funding will come from it, that is the issue. That's where.
But the funding is, but we're having the funding coming from taxpayers to give them a free ride while they're here. If it takes funding to get folks out that have no legitimate claim, maybe that's where the funding needs to go.
Yeah, well, I am almost at the point of isolationism. I want to take care of America first. So whatever it takes, we could redirect funds from multiple agencies. When I say that, and I heard it earlier, I did put in there, there's something called the No NATO Withdrawal Act. That was already signed in. So if anybody's got the argument that Trump is going to go in and pull us out of NATO, it's already been signed last year. So what I'm saying is that's another surmountable amount of money that we pay.
Well, let me interrupt to say this in regards to this No NATO Withdrawal Act or whatever the case may be. I'm sure that there are ways to get out of NATO if you can suggest that members of NATO are not meeting their obligations. I mean, if a member of NATO, for instance, started, giving intelligence to China or giving American intelligence to Russia, you're going to tell me you can't withdraw from NATO? There are things other NATO member states can do that would allow a president of this country to violate the no NATO agreement. And if Trump can say they're not meeting their financial obligations militarily, that might qualify.
Well, so there's a lot of conflict in it because when we talk NATO, we've got NATO members that have joined the BRICS. Everybody knows what the BRICS system is, right?
Yes.
And what's happened in full circle is demonetizing the U.S. dollar. It's hitting us second and third in the world for economic growth, right? So here's the big issue is if we talk about mainstream media. Okay, we're looking at mainstream media. We really don't know what's happening with NATO and the UN and Ukraine, right? We don't know exactly what's happening there. And when I say if we were going to work on citizenship for immigrants or refugees or asylees, right? And of course, the argument on the right is illegal aliens, and of course, based off of previous wording, they consider an illegal alien. So that you've got ICE, you've got all these agencies, but you have to redirect funds. You have to redirect funds to be able to remove the mass deportation.
Okay, fair enough. So at the end of the day, though, do you see? Because we're talking about with Trump with immunity claims. So do you think Trump committed any crimes at all?
Well, so. I will go this route. Okay, so my name's four times chaos because I'm
Gadoff. Thank you. Say that again.
I'm going with my name 4 times chaos because I'm a father of 4 children. Okay. Now the main thing right now it's a political it's all political weaponization. So here's my stance is if this is what's going on right now. I do watch mainstream media, but I stay between both.
Okay, remember the question is, did he commit any crimes?
I would say that being a president, so if he doesn't have any immunity, he shouldn't have any Secret Service. He shouldn't have any.
Okay, remember the question is, did he commit any crimes?
Because the crimes are based off of you can't nail me down.
I guess I can't. You're 100% right. I can't nail you down. Go ahead. Tell me what you wanted to tell me.
We don't. It's not fair and balanced. We don't know the actual facts. We hear what one side says when they went in and found stuff just like thrown all over our bathroom. When the actual testimony saying that everything was locked behind a locked door and key.
But wait a minute, you do realize, and by the way, on YouTube, Letha Curry, thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate that. I'll look your comment up in a second. You do realize most of Americans that get convicted in a court of law is the same way you just suggested in defense of Trump. We don't know all the facts. People are saying this and people are saying that. That's how it normally works. You know how many people are serving the rest of their life in prison simply based on eyewitness testimony or something of that nature? That's how it has always worked. Everybody is not in prison because they have a smoking gun or actually video evidence. Sometimes it's simply a matter of listening to a credible witness. Mike Pence, for instance, would be a credible witness, and that is enough to convict people. That's how most folks go down.
Well, we got till February 16th for the Supreme Court ruling, and we'll find out if Trump will be on ballots. So that'll be at 10 o'clock on Friday. Okay, so there will be a ruling there. But what ultimately is we've got narratives here, and if the left uses conspiracy, you have no conversation with the right. Never use the word conspiracy because it deflates the entire conversation, because I heard conspiracy several times. Now what I'm going to say is I'm going back to January 6th.
Okay.
January 6th, and I don't know how many people pay attention to it, but there's something on X that says about the Twitter files where certain amounts of left and right, we'll just go ahead and go right, was castrated, cut out. You know, even there's tweets from Trump within minutes of telling people not to go, right? So it's not fair and balanced whatsoever. And for 91 charges, tell me that's not crazy. You've got the judges that don't allow him to speak.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. For example, in regards to the judges not letting Trump speak, courts are ran by a certain format. You can't go into court, for instance, and relitigate things that you're not here for. For instance, going to court and yelling out that you're working with the Biden administration with no proof. Of course they're not going to let you speak. Trump is in court constantly saying things that are either unproven, completely false, or that have nothing to do with the case at hand. Do you just let him sit there and have a 20-minute speech on something that has nothing to do with what anybody's there for?
Well, can't you speak in your own defense?
If you're being charged with a murder, nobody wants to hear that they charged you too much in taxes last year. No, you can't speak in defense of something nobody's there to discuss.
So what I'm leading up to is that it's only one-sided. It might have something relevant for his peers to hear. It might have been something relevant that
that's not how.
It would have made somebody think differently.
For example, that's not how the court system works. You don't get to go in court and start talking about the judge's wife is a liberal donor.
Well, I understand that.
That's what he was doing. That's what he was doing.
He didn't do it, but the second time that was initiated, that was a totally different case. Correct?
In every one of Trump's cases, for instance, when he got ordered to pay $83 million for defamation of E. Jean Carroll, he's in a defamation case. He's already been found liable for the assault. This is a defamation case. You don't get to relitigate the assault case. He's in there trying to say that she wasn't assaulted. She made it up. You're not there for that anymore. That's over with. You're there for defamation. You should be arguing whether you defamed her or not. You don't get to defend a defamation charge you don't get to defend a civil lawsuit on sexual assault in a defamation trial. That's why he wasn't allowed to speak. He was all over the place.
So let me ask you, the Bragg case, what was the other woman's name? I can't think of her name right offhand.
Letitia James?
Yeah, so she ran for office under the premise that she was going to get his fucking ass.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a little bit of a headhunt there.
But what is so special about that? Hell, the judge in Nevada that gave O.J. Simpson an inflated 9 years in prison ran on the same premise that if she got an elected judge in Nevada, she was going to go get O.J. Simpson. Nobody said anything about her. Trump ran on the premise that if he became president, he would lock Hillary Clinton up. Nobody said anything about him. That's what they do. That's politics.
I don't remember that. I think that was just a comment.
That's the way you interpreted it.
He would lock her up. He ran. That was actually during a debate.
You're going to tell me no one supporting Trump thought that if he gets elected, he's going to finally hold Hillary Clinton accountable?
Yeah. No. I've been in the queues and I've been in all the different little groups. I have heard it.
Right. So if he had done it, folks that are suggesting that Letitia James was wrong for promising to lock Trump up, they would have had no problem if Trump had became president and fulfilled that wish of going after Hillary Clinton. No problem. They would have had no problem with that.
I'm pretty sure they're going to draw this all the court cases and all these cases out all the way to the date of election. So I mean, we'll find out how the courts rule. Like with the woman with $84 million deposition there, that's under appeal now. So it's not everybody's celebrating that he got.
That's a legit. Let me tell you something in regards to E. Jean Carroll, folks. Well, she ain't gonna get a dime because Trump's going to appeal. First of all, the $5 million she won already because he was he lost the liability that he actually sexually assaulted her. She won $5 million on the first case before he defamed her. Trump has an appeal on that case. To appeal that case, you got to put a large portion of the $5 million up in government hands. So the government is already holding a large portion of that $5 million. If Trump doesn't win the appeal, the money goes straight to her. Second, she just won a defamation case for $83.3 million. For Trump to appeal that defamation case, he has to fork over millions of dollars to get the appeal. Once again, that money will go in government hands. If he doesn't win the appeal, she gets that money. Now, I will tell you this. He may be able to fight and finagle that he did not sexually assault her because the shit happened so long ago. But the defamation case, where most of the money is, it's going to be impossible. He said all kinds of horrible things about that woman, and it's all on video. He's not going to win an appeal on that defamation case. He defamed her. He said a lot of things that weren't true about her.
Well, I mean, what was the one? He's like, I wouldn't date her. She's not my caliber. I mean, is that offensive?
Listen, I get your point, but he went way above and beyond that. I guarantee you this. He won't win that defamation appeal. There's no chance in hell he's going to win that. Just understand that. And if he's willing to risk paying millions of dollars to lawyers to continue fighting that, it's crazy. At some point, you got to cut your losses. Trump operates on principle. It's personal, as Deion Sanders would say. But at the end of the day, he's going to lose that. He's not going to win that defamation case. That's solid. He's not. Everybody knows Trump says bad things about people, from Ron DeSanctimonious to Crooked Hillary. That's what he does. He's not going to win a defamation case that he didn't defame her. And unlike Rudolph Giuliani with Ruby Freeman, he has a lot of money to collect. So she's going to get paid. Maybe not all $88.3 million from those two suits, but she's going to get millions out of Trump.
Well, let me ask you something then. Let me. So we've got.
Last question. Go.
So we've got here. What do you think? Is Biden going to go under the 25th and the fourth article? Because CNN's pushing it. I'm no fan of Biden. I lean left, but if they were somehow able to use the 25th and remove Biden, I'm going to assume the liberals would probably be more happy with anybody that fills that slot. Anybody they get, Gavin Newsom, hell, even Kamala, you name it, any liberal, once they invoke the 25th Amendment, suggesting that Biden, Article 25 rather, once they invoke Article 25 and suggest that Biden is not
he's too old or he's not in his faculties or he's a loony bin or whatever, and you get rid of Biden, I think that would backfire. I think the Liberal Party would favor any liberal, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, hell, Michelle Obama, if we're lucky, they would support any liberal that takes the place of Biden. Because that's Biden's biggest issue is a lot of liberals are not big fans of him. They're just Trump haters. You can fuck around and get somebody they actually like.
Yeah, so Michelle's already said she didn't do anything with politics. But what I'm saying is if they remove Biden from office and then they go ahead and pursue, Jack Smith keeps pursuing this case in Mar-a-Lago, that leaves it open for every other president behind him for, specifically paperwork inside of a garage. So
here's the problem with that. Trump refused to give the documents back. I don't think other presidents in the future are going to do that. I mean, you're the president of the United States or the former president of the United States. Everybody's going to work with you.
That would be a hell of a question. If you had Trump in the same room, did you refuse to give the paperwork back? Because I haven't heard that.
You haven't heard the obstruction of justice charge? That's what it's for. His own lawyer testified that she told him, sir, if you don't get the documents back, this is a crime. His own lawyer testified that she told him it would be criminal not to give them back, and he ignored her.
I don't know. I'm going to have to research that.
All right, I got to go for Chaos. Good conversation. Anytime, come on back through.
Why are you yelling? Don't be yelling at me.
All right, you can only drag it out so far. Come on back anytime. We like Biden. He's our man. Yeah, but you're outnumbered. There's not a lot of folks that like Biden like that. Real quick, on the YouTube side of the house, wanted to respond to Arletha Curry. First of all, thank you for the super chat. In regards to rounding up immigrants, because Trump promised the largest deportation in U.S. history, and her question was, well, how can you round up so many people and just send them back? Fact is, if you come in the country seeking asylum, you should at the very least be photographed and fingerprinted at that time. At that point, if you don't show up to your asylum hearing, put a warrant out for their arrest. That's the first thing. The second thing is the ones who do show up overwhelmingly are going to be rejected. Certainly if Trump is president. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 130,000. Wow. 1,200 plus of you in here. Feel free to tap the screen. Let your thumbs not be lazy. 130,000 will be one of my highest likes ever. Do appreciate that. For you folks on YouTube, feel free to give your boy a subscription if you will. Trump could easily, I don't know about, you're not going to get 100% of them out of here because there are going to be liberals helping them stay, and Trump would only have a limited time. But you have, if you've done things right, you have their fingerprints and their photos on file. They all get a court date. You can expeditiously move the court date up, and really by law, because I say this because I immigrated to Australia and I had to go through the whole process. They are supposed to know where you are at all times. You're almost like you're on probation when you go to another country. They're supposed to know where you're at. You're not supposed to get in any trouble. So all of the ones that got in trouble, that is a huge stain on the Biden administration. They're supposed to kick you out immediately. You're beating up a cop and you're not even here on residency. How the hell do you get out on bail? I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That's awful. That is awful to let out an immigrant that has not even gained the legal right to stay here out on bail for a major felony. That makes no sense at all. And any liberal that speaks favorably of that, it's awful. I don't even know what to say about that. But any of those folks that were caught on video beating up cops, or some of them been using mopeds to rob people and shit like that, that should be an instant deportation. If I don't know what country you're from, we're going to incarcerate you until you tell us where the hell you came from. But you're never going to see freedom on U.S. land again. And that should permanently violate you from ever coming to the United States. I don't care if you're 15. If you're beating cops already at 15, that should be it. So the fact that the city of New York let those folks out on bail, where they immediately jumped on buses and left the city, showing that they already are capable of running from the law at those young ages. That looks horrible. That looks horrible. But in regards to rounding them up, you should have their fingerprints in face on file when they seek asylum. You should take a photo of them, take their fingerprints. If they don't show up to their hearings, immediately put a warrant out for their arrest. So that way, even if they're navigating around America, it's only a matter of time when you get caught. I don't care if it's 2 years from now. When you get caught, there's a warrant for your arrest. You got to go. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, as you encounter folks, people need jobs, people need driver's license and things like that. Folks are going to be getting caught. It is what it is. Now, you're not necessarily going Gestapo or 1930s Germany and rounding people up, but you certainly are dwindling the numbers that are here. And of course, the ones that are laying around on the ground, homeless in cities like New York and Chicago, would have to run for their lives if Trump got reelected. Because they're just going to send ICE into New York, into Chicago with a bunch of paddy wagons and just pick them all up. Like, you guys got to go. Looking in the comments, going straight back to the box, Trump asking for complete immunity from SCOTUS. And we're talking about the border bill. Takesha has been holding on. Appreciate that. Immunity for Trump. Takesha, thank you for holding. What say you?
Hey, handsome, how are you?
Appreciate you holding on. Thank you.
Listen, who needs immunity that hadn't done anything?
People who are being wrongfully charged with a crime. That's what the pushback is going to be. That Trump did not commit a crime.
If I hadn't done anything, handsome, I'm not going to ask for immunity. I'm just going to go on through and make y'all look crazy for accusing me when I'm proven innocent.
But what if you thought the courts were biased against you and you were just going to use immunity as a weapon against a biased court?
That's not what he's doing, handsome. I like how you try to play devil advocate, but that's definitely not what Trump's doing.
Well, that's what folks believe, Keisha. That's what folks believe, is that the courts have it in for Trump.
Handsome, that's not what he's doing, handsome.
Let me ask you, if maintaining classified documents is a violation, why is Trump the only one being made a spectacle of? Why is that?
First of all, Trump is not being charged for having the documents. He's being charged for not wanting to get on people their documents back after they kept asking him. And then he said out of his own mouth, he had a right to have them. That's what he's being charged for. Okay, Pence had documents, he gave them back. Biden had documents, he gave them back. Trump had documents, he gave some back, he kept some. They called him, can we get our documents? I sent them all. Then you find out he still got documents. He's not being charged for the retention, he's being charged for keeping them.
Okay, so if he's being charged for obstruction of justice that you're pointing out, why is it that...
Absolutely.
Okay, so why is it that if that's the only reason they're charging him, why are they in this house taking pictures of the documents and things like that? They didn't do that to Biden. They didn't go in his house and take pictures of where they were in his garage next to his Corvette, or they were under his TV or in his basement. Why did they make a spectacle of what they did to Trump?
Because Biden didn't say he didn't have them. They took pictures as proof that he said he didn't have any, and they wanted to show, yes, he did. And the only reason those folders and stuff were on the floor, was because they were just showing pictures that they had been copied. And they were showing the bleed line to prove that they had been copied. They didn't say that those documents were strode on the floor. That's how they set the picture. That's how they set the documents up, to take the pictures to show the difference in the original and the copy.
So why is it that Biden is allowed to... I agree with you. He gave the documents back voluntarily. So did Mike Pence. But in regards to Biden, why is Biden allowed to hold on to documents 30, 40 years, but Trump is having his documents demanded that he return within a year? He leaves office within a year, and they're all over him for his documents back. Why did Mike Pence get to hold on to his documents that long?
Did the National Archive call them and say, hey, you got our stuff?
Nobody called Biden. They just
hold on. Did the National Archive call Pence and Biden and say, hey, we believe you got some of our documents. Can you give them back?
No. They looked around their house. In fact, Biden told them, look, you can just come and check to see if I have anything. They were trusting Biden so much that if Trump hadn't been held accountable, Biden could probably still have those documents today. They were giving Biden the angel treatment while they were treating Trump like Satan. How do you explain that?
Let me tell you something, handsome. When Trump got caught with documents, then Pence said, well, let me check. Then Biden said, well, let me go ahead. And when they found him, they called the lawyers and everything. And the lawyers called the people and said, hey, come get these documents because he got some. Okay, the Republican special counsel said that he did nothing wrong because if he did, I'm sure they would have prosecuted him too.
But you're not getting the point I'm trying to make, Takesha, is this. Trump wasn't given 30, 40 years to hold on to documents and then look around and say, you know, I just found some, here, come get these. They were after Trump right away. They didn't go after Biden right after he left office. They gave him the benefit of the doubt, and it turns out he was hoarding documents. Here we are 30 years later.
Trump, no. They were not after Trump, no, right away. Stop it.
A year after Trump leaves office, he's getting calls to return documents back. Meanwhile, Biden got documents in his house and ain't nobody ever called him. Are they holding Trump to a higher account?
I don't think so. I honestly don't. I don't think so. This was a man who refused to leave the White House, and I want to speak on this too, handsome.
Sure.
I don't care if Trump said, okay, let's march to the Capitol peacefully. If he really wanted peace, handsome, after Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, and all them got on that stage and said all that foolishness to hype them folks up, he would have came back and said, no, don't listen to them. I said peacefully.
Wait. When he said, hold on, Takesha, he gave a speech and was done with it. He said, go to the Capitol building, go peacefully.
You don't think he heard what them other people said?
You ain't hearing what I'm saying. After he at the end of his speech, he told them to go to the Capitol building peacefully and I'll be there with you. His speech was over with. There's a 2-mile walk from where... Hold on, you're not letting me finish. He had completed his speech. There's a 2-mile walk from where he spoke and where they went. So they were no longer in range of his voice or any of that. So when if Mike Epps, I don't buy the Mike Epps thing, or Ray Epps, and I'm Mike Epps the comedian, I don't buy the Ray Epps thing. But if that is the case, Trump was not in a position at that point to tell them not to listen to the guy. Second of all, he didn't know they were talking to him.
Handsome.
Sure.
Let me ask you a question. How did they know Mike Pence wasn't gonna do what he asked them to do?
Because Trump had told him.
How did he do it?
Tweets.
Through a what?
Through a tweet.
Okay, he couldn't tweet and say, don't listen to what Giuliani and them said, they wrong. Be peaceful.
Well, he couldn't. He didn't need to tweet out not to listen to Giuliani because he was the last speaker. He was the headliner. So what Giuliani and
whole point. That's my point. If you speak last, you hold a crowd, you give the last word. Even though he said go peacefully, he should have said, we're not going to do what they suggested. Let's just be peaceful.
I like the way you said. Real quick, let me ask you this in regards to when you saying peaceful. Mimi River on YouTube said he knew that at least half of them were armed when he sent them to the camp.
See, that's why you got to stop watching Fox News, because you don't know a lot of stuff.
I asked a question. I don't know.
Some days the things that you should know that you don't know really be upset me. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Give me an example. Okay. Give me an example. Educate me.
Kathy Hutchinson, in her testimony, said these words. The Secret Service told President Trump that there were people that were at the checkpoints trying to get in armed. He told them they're not here to hurt me.
Yeah, I heard that
let
part.
them in.
Yeah, I heard that part.
That's what they talking
But
about.
that's not half of them are armed. That's some
I
folks
didn't
trying
say
to.
half.
Okay, but that's what I asked you about when you hammer me. I asked you, do you think half of them were armed? Not do you think some of them brought weapons in? And you went off
It could have
on
been.
me.
It could have been 2 or 3. What does it matter? It could have been 1. Nobody should have been in there armed.
Fair enough. All right, fair enough. So you do believe Trump actually committed crimes while president?
You know I do. I don't care who don't. You know I definitely do. No, and let me say this about the border. First of all, let me say this about Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott is a bitter, hateful man who is upset that he's in a wheelchair. That's why
My
he's being
God.
I'm dead serious. That's why he acts as low down as he acts. He's still bitter because he ended up in that wheelchair. Now, number 2, why is he only putting barbed wire at one border? How many borders border Texas?
You talking about that? You want him to put a wire around Oklahoma and Arkansas and New Mexico?
Okay, I'm asking a question.
They're okay. New Mexico.
He's only focused on one specific part.
I don't. First of all, let me make it clear. You can't. I don't know if it's even legal to prevent other Americans from entering one of the 50 states. I don't think you can legally do that.
Turn your Bluetooth out.
Takesha? All right. Unfortunately, Takesha has a equipment issue. Sound like somebody else. What she was saying is somebody else turned on their Bluetooth and it took over her phone. JPT Farms, yeah! Thank you for the hat and mustache. He knew they were armed and he sent them to the Capitol. He said he was marching with them. Obviously, he led and helped them organize the insurrection. Well, Sandy, that's got to be proven. Now, I'm listening to my last caller, and I've heard what she said before, that folks did warn. Yeah, once again with the hat and mustache. Thank you. You guys got me looking all Mexican and shit. And I seen in the comments somebody said bullshit. And Gandalf, thank you for the subscription. I mentioned that when you gave that to me. Wow, I got a couple of subscribers today. That doesn't normally happen. Thank you, Gandalf History. Thank you, William. Yeah, you guys are on fire today. Let's go. So, in regards to the armed part, I did hear about that during the January 6th hearings, that Trump was told some of those folks that were armed, and he did reportedly say they're not here for me. Heard about that in addition to him trying to reach over the Secret Service and turn the whole steering wheel to turn the car back towards the crowd. He was down with that crowd. Trump is down with MAGA, I'll tell you that, because I've said this before. For folks who get on the program, typically those on the left, who suggest Trump would be no better at the border than Biden. I vehemently disagree with that, because I do believe Trump is so serious about securing the southern border that he would commit crimes to make it happen. You see this caravan that was going down to the border to help out Abbott, to help out folks in Arizona. President Trump would be leading that caravan. Park a pickup over here, you guys stand over here. Trump would be involved in that. I'm not saying everything he does would be on the up and up or would meet the laws of humanity, but he would absolutely be more effective at securing the border, because he's willing to go up to it, including loss of life, to secure the border. Biden obviously is not going to do that. Biden's going to follow the laws that are in place and things like that. For instance, we all know the asylum seekers coming into this country right now are abusing that rule. I don't think there's anybody on the left or right that believe everyone coming to America right now claiming asylum has a legitimate claim. I would submit to you, in my humble opinion, and this is absolutely just an opinion, I doubt if 10% of those folks would actually meet the qualifications to be granted asylum. I doubt if 10% of them. We know the Chinese folks that are coming to this country ain't running from the cartel. How the hell do you run from the cartel? Some kind of way you able to fly all the way over, because there's no way to walk from China. You got all the way to Central America or South America and then walked up through all of these other countries. That has nothing to do with asylum. Nothing to do with asylum at all. So I do believe at least 10% of them. And Dean Crow on YouTube, your name has been said. I don't believe there's no way in hell they all have legitimate asylum claims. So you would get an expedited removal of them under Trump. Whereas under Biden, I don't know what Biden is doing in terms of getting to the bottom of whether these folks have legitimate claims for asylum or not. Now, in the border bill, there was money to put a lot more judges on the case, which might speed it up a little bit. But yeah, I think Trump would be infinitely better at securing the border than Biden because he would go and cross the line. Going back to the box, 171,000 likes. That by far is more than I've ever had on any single program. So I am humbled. I appreciate that. This program does not work without you folks coming on, educating me, telling me where the hell I'm getting it wrong, and of course, entertaining my opinion. So you guys that are tapping the screen, that is by far more likes than I've ever seen. So hundreds, over 1,100 of you in here. So I do appreciate that. Same thing on YouTube for you folks that are smashed in the like button. Feel free to submit a subscription. Or not a subscription, but a subscriber, whatever the hell they do on YouTube. Thank you. Wow, I've never seen that. Thank you. Looking quick in the comments. Handsome, I never thought you would turn and be for Trump. Jan, good comment. You don't have to be for Trump, for Biden, against Trump, or against Biden to give someone credit on something you think they could or could not accomplish. That's what we need to get away from, is that if this candidate represents my opposition, I'm not going to say anything good about them at all. Moo with the cat and the earphones. Moo the tuxedo cat, always a pleasure. What a cat, thank you. So listen, I don't believe in bashing Trump constantly. I know a lot of my beloved MAGA think I do. I don't believe in celebrating Biden constantly. There are good and bad reasons to support or dislike Trump, and the same applies to Biden. But I do believe Trump would be better at securing the border. It's a huge focus of his. It's a campaign promise. Doesn't mean I'm for Trump, just means I'm giving him what I think is credit. I think he deserves credit in that particular area. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks that are tuned in. Feel free to tap the screen. I don't even need to ask. You guys have got the likes so high up. Wow, it's crazy. Going back to the box, Humble Trucker, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Handsome. How are you? How about that Super Bowl, man?
Hey, I had money on the Chiefs. That was
you won $100, yeah?
About 8, 100 and something. I bet, I had money on the halftime score, the over-under, and some other shit, but yeah, over $100. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Awesome, man.
I enjoyed it. So I'm a happy, even though I'm a Bears fan for life, I rode with the Chiefs, and they were victorious. I like what Mahomes is doing. Hopefully he gets up there one day with Brady and start breaking some of those records, which are that's a hell of a feat to do, but he has enough time to do it.
Tough ask, but he could do it.
Yeah, he has enough time to do it. So, immunity for Trump. What say you?
I'm kind of in the same boat as your last guest, but I can also agree with your rebuttal to her. What exactly does he think he needs immunity for? Is he claiming he's incompetent or was incompetent during office?
Well, and I'll put on my devil's advocate hat and speak on behalf of Trump. If the justice system is biased against me and they're going to, it's rigged, they're going to convict me no matter what, then I'm going to claim immunity. That may be the last card I have to play. I didn't commit any crimes, but since they're going to say I did, I'm going to push immunity. That's where it's coming from.
Right. I mean, I can absolutely see that also because, you gotta step into Trump's shoes and look at the situation from his perspective,
Yeah.
So
I
don't think
go ahead.
He's immune, but I could also take into consideration, maybe we should try to look at it from his perspective.
Well, the problem is a lot of things Trump has said has been so controversial. I don't think you're going to get a lot of folks to look at things from his perspective. Real quick, Rob 118, the subscription. Thank you. Certainly saw that. Want to definitely give you my gratitude. So thank you, Rob, for the subscription. So when you say look at things Trump way, with him still saying the 2020 election is stolen, how are folks who do not support Trump supposed to look at that some 3 years later? He's claiming the election is stolen and has provided little to no evidence to back that up.
You know, I guess I don't have an answer for that one, because I was just going to say, you know, he's provided no real concrete evidence. He's just saying, you know, they did. Quit crying about it and show us they actually did it.
I would also point out that during the 2020 election, the Republicans in the down ballot, Congress, Senate, you know, some of the other lower offices, the Republican Party actually did better than expectations in that 2020 election. Governor Kemp of Georgia beat Stacey Abrams. And if the election was stolen and held improperly, why are there no claims even coming from my beloved MAGA or anyone suggesting that all of those Republicans that won in 2020 won by fraud? No one's saying that. They're making it sound like the Democrats able to do a precision strike and only take the election from Trump, and all of the Republicans that won that year won fair and square. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just sour about it. He was really hoping he was going to get a second back-to-back term, and I think he's just sour about it.
Yeah.
You know, because what you just said, how can they precisely just take it from Trump and nobody else?
Yeah. And you notice you don't hear any Republican senators, the Ted Cruz's and Marco Rubio's, folks who did win. You don't hear none of them saying anything about the election was fraudulent, because if Trump got what he wanted from Mike Pence and Mike Pence refused to certify the election, that would lead all of those senators and Congress people to have their elections rethought out as well. So while they're saying that Trump won, you don't hear any Republican senators, Republican Congress, none of them that ran that year are backing up what Trump says, because he's putting their jobs at risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might just end up being a big game of CYOA, you know, cover your own ass.
Yeah. Do you think it's harmful to the nation that he is still saying it to this day, that he won by a landslide?
Absolutely. 100%. You know, we're what, 3 years past it at this point?
Yeah.
You know, you got to give it up. You know, being in that position, you have a very strong outreach and pull against, you know, certain people in this nation.
So last question before
they can't think for themselves, but big pull being Trump.
So last question before I move on. Do you think that what Trump stated, that he won by a landslide and told those folks on January 6th, and you look at the outcome of him telling them that on January 6th, do you think that whole melee should disqualify him from ever being president again?
Probably not.
Even though, so if it doesn't disqualify him from being president, I'm assuming you mean he also should not be criminally held accountable for it. So with him still saying he won, I have to ask the obvious question. How do you feel confident January 6th wouldn't happen again? All of the pieces are still in place. He's still saying it. You're suggesting that he doesn't be held criminally accountable. He should not be disqualified from running. How do you guarantee it doesn't happen again with everything still taking place?
I mean, you can't guarantee it doesn't happen again. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if I suggest a bunch of us jump off a bridge and I don't jump, who jumped? Why did you go along and jump after I say, let's go ahead and jump?
Yeah.
You knew there's a certain expectation of, you know, fatality jumping off a bridge. Why the hell would you do it?
So are you suggesting that MAGA, they're on the Capitol building on January 6th, that went in there, are you suggesting that their activity was akin to jumping off a bridge?
I mean, might as well have been. Trump should have told him, hey, let's jump off the fucking Trump Tower, and he just stayed behind.
So then I have to.
He led these people up to a big, I guess, like an army march, and then just let them have at it.
Do you think that those folks who went in the Capitol building there that day committed any crimes?
maybe ethically, maybe not criminally, because that's our capital. Why are you going to come in there and cause a ruckus? We have freedoms of protesting and peaceful protesting. We don't have a freedom to storm one of our most sacred buildings of government.
Yeah, but you're saying maybe ethically, but not criminally, because the Capitol building is owned by the people. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I mean, it's pretty distasteful. I don't think.
But wait a minute.
They didn't overthrow the government.
But humble trucker, that us taxpayers own a host of buildings and structures in this country that have business hours. You can't just go walk into a public building if it's closed. I mean, we own a police station that's paid for by taxpayer money. You can't just go walking through the police station, going in the chief's office because you own a building, can you?
No, right.
Right.
Absolutely not.
So the Capitol building was.
I would review it with, what about the, maybe they were in on it, but the Capitol Police guiding people through.
The Capitol Police were absolutely in on it. There's no denying, and they should be held accountable for that. But you don't hear folks on the right asking why they're not. Folks on the right are suggesting they were giving tours. How many government buildings, whether you go to the Lincoln Memorial or whatever you go to in D.C., how many government buildings do you go to and have a tour that is given to you by a man with a gun in a Capitol Police uniform? No tour guide is in right. So the idea that they were giving tours is bullshit. Not to mention, we know that even when QAnon, Shaman, and the rest of them were being gently let in, the other side of the building was being overran. So even for the Capitol Police that were supposedly giving out tours, we know their radios were screaming with officers asking for backup. Yet we want to believe that during that moment, they decided to keep conducting a tour, knowing the other side of the building was being overran.
It wasn't a tour.
No.
The police officers absolutely should be held criminally liable for, I don't know, what was going on the other side by not responding. They have a legal and moral obligation to respond.
So how do you respond to Jim Welsh on YouTube says it was a coup with no weapons? Do you see what happened on January 6th as an attempted coup?
I could see that. Maybe an attempted and failed one.
I asked you a moment ago, was any crimes committed by the folks that went in? You could see an attempted coup and you don't see a crime?
I mean, I guess it's kind of like a conspiracy charge, it's kind of hard to put up with. Like, you tried to do it, but you really didn't do it.
Okay, if you try to rob a bank and you don't succeed, can you be charged with bank robbery?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
If you went into the bank, pulled a weapon and told the teller put the money in the bag, you attempted to rob the place.
So what if you go into the Capitol building and you're yelling Nancy Pelosi, you're breaking her office and you steal actual property out of her office?
Well, there's a theft charge. Maybe breaking and entering.
Okay. So if I go into the bank and they happen to have just sent all their money out in the Brinks truck and there's no money in the office, I'm just charged with breaking and entering because I didn't take the money?
Well, I mean, not really, but you didn't know there was no money.
Okay. So you do admit that they committed a crime there on that day now. You do admit that those protesters who went in the Capitol building, smearing feces on the wall, breaking property, taking property, podiums and things
absolutely.
like that. Okay. So if you admit they committed a crime, how do you feel that our 45th president, referring to Donald Trump, has suggested that he would pardon them? He would look into pardoning them if he becomes president.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I don't like it at all.
Okay. Is it possible that maybe while you're admitting they tried to commit a coup, that maybe he favored the coup if he's willing to pardon them?
Yeah, that could be. That's agreeable. I mean, but again, I think it's ultimately it comes down to semantics. I mean, did he outwardly say he wanted a coup? Did he put that out anywhere? Did he start it? Can we prove he started it and not, I think two guests ago. There's Twitter files. There's so many.
But let's say that there's no proof. Let's just go with what you've given so far. That you believe they did commit a coup, and that he or tried to commit a coup. They didn't succeed, but you're willing to admit that they may have been operating in an attempted unsuccessful coup, and you admitted that it is wrong for Trump, or you don't agree with Trump offering to pardon those folks who were involved in that. Do you think that alone, having a presidential candidate that seen what appears to be an attempted coup and is willing to pardon the participants, do you think that alone should affect his ability to be president again?
I'm gonna say no. I mean, I don't know.
All right.
I'm trying to find the right words here. Hang on just a second.
Take your time. Okay, that's pretty humble. All right, humble, if you don't have the words.
I can't think of what I'm trying to say right now. Maybe I can comment in on it later on
All
YouTube
right.
or something.
Fair enough. I appreciate you coming on. You know what I got to do? Always welcome back. Thank you for coming through.
Safe, man.
Yeah, you too. All right, looking in the comments, this is a first. Okay, fair enough. I don't know what you mean, but I appreciate the comment. By the way, you guys know how the program is ran. It is and always will be MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. They've always been, they always will be. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. Real quick, a lot of folks probably new here understand the program is ran, whereas we don't censor, block, ban, or limit the time of anyone simply because they have a differing opinion. We go left of Bernie Sanders all the way to I'm having dinner with QAnon tonight. Everyone gets to speak. That is the entire platform of the program. It's all about free speech. You don't agree with the host or somebody in the comment section, nobody gives a damn. If you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host trying to block, ban, or censor you, follow the program. We're here Monday through Friday. That's how we run the program. For you YouTubers, feel free to drop a subscription, smash that like button. Until then, 1 p.m. tomorrow, that's how we do it. I'll see you then. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I gotta go. YouTube, you appreciate that. Where do you fall on the political compass, sir? I lean left. I lean left politically, but I am very near the center. I see a lot of good things in both sides of the aisle. I'm not everything about Biden is great or everything about Trump is bad. I see a lot of legitimate reasons to vote for both candidates. So I do lean very, very close to the center. Nevertheless, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I gotta go. Catch you guys tomorrow.